This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yunxiao's pupils constricted. Under the destructive pressure, he circulated his indestructible golden body to the maximum and flicked the pressure away. He formed a seal with his hands, and a huge black shadow appeared behind him. It was the true fiend Dharma idol. The true fiend Dharma idol also had 3 heads and 6 arms. Moreover, the illusionary image of a weapon appeared in one of its hands, as if it was holding a bottle. Yunxiao was surprised. It was the first time he had seen such a true fiend Dharma idol. Could it be that as his strength increased, the true fiend Dharma idol was also constantly being perfected? There was no time to think carefully. Lang Yu's extreme form already came from high up in the air. The true fiend Dharma idol's 5 arms formed different imprints at the same time, blasting forward. That hand that was dragging the bottle phantom also smacked down. Boom. The G form produced a powerful vibration, and demonic chi filled the sky, blocking the attack. The true fiend Dharma idol's 4 arms formed 2 strange hand seals, while its right hand held the bottle's shadow in front of it to resist the G form, while its left hand protected the bottle's body. What's going on? Lang Yu sucked in a cold breath, his entire person no longer calm. Change your mind. He roared in rage. He also formed a seal with his hands and pressed down on the 2 daggers. Boom boom boom. The true fiend Dharma idol's figure found it difficult to withstand the immense pressure. The demonic chi that filled the sky suddenly decreased, and its body became dazed. Yunxiao also felt a huge rock pressing on his chest, making him extremely uncomfortable. Boom. The true fiend Dharma idol finally couldn't hold on any longer. It collapsed like a landslide, and it died completely. The power of the G-style was unparalleled, and it fell from the sky. The entire earth trembled under the tremendous force, and the mountain range was directly torn apart. Pfft. The moment the true fiend Dharma idol collapsed, Yunxiao finally coughed up a mouthful of blood, and the pressure on his chest was greatly reduced. He hurriedly made a hand seal, and a demonic light flashed between his brows. The devil sky silk suddenly flew out, and the physical armor directly covered his body. At the same time, his body shone with a golden light and a purple light flashed between his brows. The power of the 8 gates filled his body. His hands formed a seal and he slammed it towards the G form. Bang! The G form was once again blocked by his palms. Yunxiao's face flickered. The force pressing down from his palms was far beyond his imagination, and his body swelled up and his muscles stacked up. In the distance, Liao Yangbing and Jing Yangyao were completely dumbfounded. Being pressed down by this kind of power, let alone using their physical bodies to resist, just a touch would be enough to destroy their souls. Jing Yangyao muttered to himself in a daze, heavens. Is he made of metal? Lang Yu was also unbelievably shocked. He continuously formed seals and struck down, activating the power of the extreme form. This move, splitting heaven and earth, was also his strongest move. After destroying the heavenly sword picture and the true fiend Dharma idol, its power had been greatly reduced, and it was less than half of its original power. Zhou heart trembled as he watched, and he shouted, "This kid has cultivated a body technique and opened one of the 8 gates of the physical body." Lang Yu was shocked and furious as he said, "Bastard. Even if you open one of the 8 gates, you can't block my G form." He almost went crazy. With a loud roar, he poured all his strength into his hand and suddenly formed a seal. Without caring about anything else, he poured the last trace of his strength into Yunxiao's body, trying to kill him completely. Boom. As expected, it worked. A tremor came from Yunxiao's palms, and his resistance had reached its limit, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Bastard. You're just a piece of trash who's an 8 stars martial emperor. Do you really think you can kill me? Yunxiao roared, and the ultimate form finally fell, blasting him into it. Boom boom boom. The entire mountain range collapsed completely, turning into countless fragments that disappeared completely in the violent energy. Lang Yu's eyes revealed a look of great joy and he laughed wildly as he said. What's there to be arrogant about? In the end, he still died. A 3-star martial emperor is nothing. No matter how powerful he is, he's only a 3-star martial emperor. Yunxiao was hit by the extreme form, and the Devil Sky Silk's defense was instantly broken through, while the imperishable golden body was absorbing the power of the extreme form while being destroyed. Rays of white light suddenly shot out from his body, forming a bright moon above his head. The 24 bridges appeared again, and the hidden bridge appeared in front of him. Yunxiao's eyes flickered with clarity, and the secret technique taught by Bin Chan and subject appeared in his mind. Before, he had been in closed-door cultivation, but he had always been unable to grasp the main point. Moreover, no matter how hard he tried, he had never again seen the divine body phenomenon of 24 moonlit bridges, so he had no choice but to give up. At this moment, a flash of inspiration appeared in his mind. He began to circulate the power of his divine body. The secret technique that Bin Chun had imparted to him seemed to have an answer in an instant. At the same time, he stepped onto the Paramitha bridge. Boom. Jotian's eye on his glabella seemed to have suddenly opened and shot out a red light. A huge whirlpool of power appeared in his glabella. It was as if a chain had been removed from his physical body. The Eresta gate had finally been opened. A majestic power began to pour into his body, repairing his damaged body. In the distant sky, Jotian also heaved a sigh of relief and directly flew to Lang Yu's side. He said with some lingering fear, I didn't expect this kid to be so strong. He forced you to use your extreme form and you almost took it. Humph. Lang Yu's gloomy and cold expression was even paler than paper right now. He snorted smugly and said, this is what it means to defeat 10 opponents with one move. I'm 5 realms higher than him, so I can crush him like an ant. Is that so? A cold voice came from the endless ruins of the mountain. What? The few of them were all shocked and overwhelmed with shock. Lang Yu's heart almost spurted out of his mouth, his entire being completely stunned in the sky. On the other hand, Liao Yongbing and Jing Yongya were overjoyed, but they still found it hard to believe that Yunxiao was still alive. They thought they had heard wrong. The energy storm in the mountain waste gradually dissipated, and a towering figure was revealed. 2 rays of light shone on the left and right sides of the figure's brows, like marks. They were where the open and Eresta gates of the 8 gates were located, and they were exceptionally dazzling in the dust. That's all an 8-star martial emperor can do. That figure gradually flew up, becoming clearer and clearer, and was directly revealed before everyone. Yunxiao's face was calm, and his eyes were as bright as the sea of stars. His skin was as smooth as jade, and there was not even a scratch on him, let alone a serious injury. That's impossible. Lang Yu was thoroughly driven mad, his face virtually contorted into a ball, abnormally ugly. Jotian was also covered in cold sweat. He didn't dare to stay any longer and hurriedly shouted, let's go. He grabbed Lang Yu and was about to escape. The latter's body was already like a lamp without oil, and if he didn't help him, he would definitely die. Bang. Yunxiao kicked his feet in the air and shot out. At this moment, he had also used up all of the origin power in his body, but his extremely strong physical body was filled with endless power. With a kick, his body shot out like an arrow, and his speed was actually not slower than Jotian. Damn it! Jotian pulled Lang Yu and fled, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. In fact, he did not need to run away at all. With his strength as an 8-stars martial emperor, he was strong enough to fight Yunxiao and even kill him. But Yunxiao, who had taken a blow from Lang Yu extreme style and was still safe and sound, had already frightened him out of his wits, and he did not dare to stay for even a moment. Seeing the latter chasing after him, he felt a burst of anxiety in his heart. Don't panic. Suddenly, a voice came from the sky. Immediately after, a ray of light gathered in the sky, and then slowly descended in front of Jotian and Lang Yu. The figure of the First Island Lord, Guan Yuan, appeared in the light. First Island Master, he's. Jotian was overjoyed and hurriedly said. Guan Yuan made a shushing gesture and said, I know. Lang Yu's performance was very good, you really let me down. Zhou Tian felt extremely ashamed and lowered his head. First Island Master, this man is not human. Guang Yuan's face was expressionless, and he only said indifferently, he's only relying on his physical strength to chase after you. Your power as an 8 stars martial emperor is enough to kill him. Zhou Tian's face was burning. As a proud member of the Sea race, and once an S-class 9-headed clan, his self-esteem had been greatly damaged. He roared, First Island Master, I know I was wrong. Let me kill him for you to see. He left Lang Yu, who had been in a daze, and turned to face Yunxiao. You may leave, Guang Yuan said indifferently. Zhou Tian's face changed, First Island Lord, I'm. Back down. Guang Yuan called out softly once more, his voice becoming sharper. Zhou Tian's body trembled and he immediately gave in. He lowered his head and said, yes. He then obediently retreated to the side. With a few stomps in the air, Yunxiao jumped directly in front of Guang Yuan, who was about 100 meters away. He did not dare to go any closer, but only looked at him coldly. Guang Yuan stared at him for a while, and then said, Young man, I'm very curious about you. First Island Lord, Yunxiao snorted coldly. I'm also very curious about you. Guang Yuan laughed and said, Are you willing to submit to me? In that case, the position of the 6th Island Master of the Xiankong Island will be yours. Zhou Tian was startled, and his face darkened as he looked at Yunxiao with extreme hatred. Oh. A mocking look appeared on Yunxiao's face as he said with a smile, Are you willing to submit to me? The position of the #1 helper under me will definitely be yours. The smile on Guang Yuan's face instantly froze, and a layer of ice gradually formed. He said coldly, This joke isn't funny at all. Yunxiao's face was also cold as he said, because this is not a joke. Guang Yuan's expression changed drastically, and he said in a cold voice, You're looking for death. With a contemptuous look on his face, Yunxiao said disdainfully, You're just a projection, and you want to kill me? If your true body were here, I might still be a little afraid. Guang Yuan sneered, How would you know if you don't try? Just by opening 2 of the 8 gates, you dare to jump around in front of me? You really don't know what's good for you. He reached out his hand directly from the light, which grew larger and larger in the air, and even showed signs of solidifying as he grabbed at Yunxiao. Yunxiao's face turned serious. This man was just a projection, but he could also trigger the rules of heaven and earth to capture him alive. This meant that this man's true form was definitely a 9 stars martial emperor. What a joke. Do you think you're still in the 10 directions divine realm if you want to catch me with your projection? Yunxiao spat disdainfully, then raised the cold sword of frost high with both hands and slashed down. His elemental energy was almost completely depleted, but the ice sword was extremely sharp and his spiritual energy was full. With a slash, it turned into a sword ray that soared into the sky. Swish. The sword chi pierced through the hand, but it didn't stop. It still grabbed down from the sky. In addition, the wound healed itself in an instant. Damn it! Yunxiao's eyes gleamed coldly as the giant hand reached out. He clenched his sword and formed a sword stance with his hand. Pa! Guang Yuan clenched his fist and caught Yunxiao. Bang! A hole appeared on the back of the hand as Yunxiao thrust his sword out and rushed out, jumping into the sky with loud bangs. That sword is indeed a little troublesome. Guang Yuan frowned, and directly opened his mouth to spit. It was actually a flying axe, and with a hoochie-hoochie sound, it slashed towards the sky. With a sneer, Yunxiao held the sword with both hands and hacked at the flying axe while shouting, I've said it before, if you want to catch me, come with your main body. Bang! The cold sword and frost hit the flying axe, directly shaking it away. Guang Yuan's big hand made a grabbing gesture in the air, and the axe instantly turned as big as a boulder. With a loud crack, it was caught in his hand, and he continued to swing it at Yunxiao. The sky split open as the axe came down. An extremely deep crack was torn toward Yunxiao. Yunxiao's heart sank. The power of the projection was extremely strong, and the axe had triggered the laws of heaven and earth to suppress him, leaving him no way to escape. He waved his hand and a small red umbrella appeared. He opened it in the air. In an instant, it emitted a 7-colored light, forming a defensive barrier. It was the Yuanyang umbrella he had obtained in Long Valley City. He had refined it several times, and its ability had improved a lot. Boom! The giant axe struck the umbrella, shattering several barriers and causing the entire umbrella to shake. Guang Yuan's expression changed. He muttered to himself, no wonder this year's dazzling treasure meat was so full. It even exceeded the quota by so much. It seems that your contribution is not small. He raised his giant axe again and hacked down. He sneered, let's see how many axes you can block. Boom. 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 After more than a dozen strikes, the sky cracked and the barriers on the Yuanyang umbrella were all broken. When the axe hit the umbrella, Yunxiao's hand went numb, and he could clearly feel that the umbrella was about to fall apart again. Damn it. I'm going to kill you. Yunxiao was furious. He put away the umbrella, raised the sword of frost, and slashed down. Humph. Guang Yuan's projection sneered as he opened his mouth and spat out another beam of light. This time, it was an extremely sharp saber that slashed at Yunxiao. Bang! With a wave of his sword, Yunxiao knocked the saber away and continued to rush down. A strange expression appeared on Guang Yuan's face. Suddenly, a cold glint burst out from his eyes, and he roared towards the sky. A dragon's roar actually shook the sky. This is... Yunxiao's heart trembled, and to his horror, he found that Guang Yuan's head had become as big as a small mountain, and was about to bite him with his mouth wide open. He felt the world go dark, and he had just swallowed it. Your sister, you actually want to eat me? Are you crazy? Yunxiao was taken aback. He hurriedly circulated the last bit of his energy and turned into a bolt of lightning, trying to escape. But, Guang Yuan's mouth closed even faster, and Yunxiao watched in horror as the 2 rows of teeth closed together. At that moment, the 2 rows of teeth seemed to be hindered by some force and suddenly stopped, giving Yunxiao a moment to escape with the thunder escape technique. Bang! As soon as he escaped, the 2 rows of teeth closed. Yunxiao fled 1,000 meters away in an instant. When he looked back, he saw a huge green dragon head, its eyes burning with anger as it stared at somewhere in the void. After a while, the dragon slowly turned its eyes to look at Yunxiao in the distance, snorted heavily, and said, since you want to save him, I'll let him go for now. But don't forget your goal and the agreement we made. The dragon's head gradually became fainter and eventually turned into countless specks of light, dissipating in the air. As soon as Zhou Tian saw Guang Yuan leave, his face changed slightly. He gave Yunxiao a complicated look in the distance, then clenched his fists so hard that his bony fingers cracked. Lang Yu by the side also recovered from his previous days. It was just that his face was still completely devoid of blood. Let's go, Zhou Tian said, and the 2 of them turned into 2 rays of light and flew away. Yunxiao breathed a sigh of relief and said to somewhere in the sky, thank you, Second Island Master, for saving me. The space in the sky distorted and the figure of Bin Chen appeared. He smiled bitterly and said, you really know how to stir up trouble. Even the 3 island masters have come to kill you. Now I'm also involved. That's what I'm curious about, Yunxiao said. Why would you save me even if you had to offend the 1st island master? Bin Chen glared at him and snorted, what do you think? Don't forget, I still want to find the person who placed the restriction on me through you. How can I let you die so easily? That's one of the reasons, Yunxiao said with a nod. I guess so. However, he didn't believe it in his heart. With the strength of Bin Chen, there should be some clues to investigate. There was no need to take the risk of offending the 1st island master. You should be careful, Bin Chen said. Fortunately, the 1st island master is only a projection. If he came in person, even I can't save you. Yunxiao naturally knew this, and he knew the gap between high-level martial sovereigns better than anyone else. In the realm of martial arts, perhaps it was the difference between a star and a world, but after reaching the high-level martial supreme realm, a small level could be a world of difference. For example, Lang Yu and Jiutian were both beginner 8 stars martial sovereigns, but they couldn't even withstand a single blow in front of the peak 8 stars Baiming Kongtian. And 9 stars realm was a powerful existence that could see the end of the martial Dao, and could easily kill an existence like Baiming Kongtian. When Yunxiao saw that Bin Chun were about to leave, he quickly said, "What is the identity of the first island master?" Bin Chun stopped in his tracks and turned around with a smile. "You already have a guess, right?" "That's right, it's just as you guessed." He laughed out loud and disappeared. "Fuck, I'm guessing he's your dad." Yunxiao cursed in dissatisfaction, but he soon fell into deep thought. Previously, the true form that Guangyuan had transformed into was definitely the totem azure dragon of the Eastern Seas royal clan, so this first island lord must be from the Eastern Seas royal clan. Such a powerful royal family of the Eastern Sea had established their own force outside. It was quite a suspicious thing. Yunxiao shook his head in distress. Not to mention Guangyuan's identity, the biggest headache now was his strength. Perhaps even if all the people on the island joined forces, they might not be his match. But there's definitely something wrong with this person. Every time he appears, he's a projection. I wonder where his real body is. From afar, Liao Yongbing and Jing Yongya also flew over, looking around in horror, afraid that there were more enemies. "They've all left," Yunxiao said. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. Liao Yongbing said in a deep voice, "Young Master Yun, what should we do now? If you directly offend the 3 island masters, then are you still going to attend the last few auctions of the dazzling treasure meet?" "Yes, of course I'm going. This first island master's strength is beyond my expectations," Yunxiao said with a wry smile. "I'm afraid we're in big trouble. Our only hope now is Poseidon's daughter, Shui Xian. It's safest to stay by her side." Liao Yangbing and Yunxiao nodded. They both knew that the Shui Xian needed Yunxiao's help, and that was her greatest protective talisman. The 3 of them weren't in a hurry. They first found a place nearby to recover. When the time was up, they turned into rays of light and headed towards the venue of the dazzling treasure meet. 4 hours passed quickly, and everyone gathered from all directions and entered the arena one by one. However, the field seemed to be very empty, and the number of people who came was less than half of the previous number. Many of them had their eyes on the others, and one side was killed in the fight, just like the 30-odd Sea Tribe experts killed by Yunxiao. This was the main reason for the reduction in members. There were also some who found treasures and hid them somewhere, leaving only after the waters around the Xiankong Island returned to normal. Run Xiang gave Yunxiao a look and said sarcastically, "I didn't expect you to come back alive." Yunxiao smiled indifferently as he pointed into the distance and said, "That person seems to have experienced a lot of things and has become absent-minded." Run Xiang looked in the direction Yunxiao was pointing and saw that it was Baiming Lifeng. His face was pale, and there was a look of horror in his eyes. Clearly, he had been stimulated after resting for 4 hours. Even Baiming Kongtian's face was gloomy and he seemed to be sulking. Furthermore, if one were to look carefully, they would discover that the number of human cultivators following their Baiming family had decreased by more than half. Zhao Wenjuan looked at the number of people present and smiled. It seemed that everything was within his expectations. He smiled and said, "Welcome back to the venue of the dazzling treasure meet. To be able to participate in the auction of the last 3 items, you are the biggest winners of this time." A clam girl walked up to the stage with a tray in her hands and stood beside Zhao Wenjuan with a smile. Her curvaceous figure and charming smile were treasures in and of themselves. Zhao Wenjuan personally opened the red cover on the tray. There was a white porcelain bowl inside. Upon closer inspection, it was no different from ordinary human porcelain bowls, except that the workmanship was very exquisite. The porcelain bowl was white in color and had no patterns. Everyone looked on in silence. No one made a sound. Everyone knew that it was definitely not an ordinary bowl. Otherwise, Zhao Wenjuan would have been drowned in spit on the spot. Yunxiao, on the other hand, trembled and almost stood up from his seat. He seemed to recognize the bowl, and his eyes flickered with surprise and disbelief. Zhao Wenjuan held the bowl in his hand and revealed an expression of extreme admiration. This white porcelain bowl is called plain white rice. It was made by a great alchemist of the human race hundreds of years ago. As expected. Yunxiao could not hide the shock on his face, as if he could not believe that the white rice would be put up for auction.